I mean, you know how much I've told you over and over again how much I love New England opposed to the other courses around here. And I guess my big question is, why is does it come down to something like New England's pretty well kept, even in the summertime, unless it gets to like August where it just, but everywhere it gets burnt out. I'm thinking in my head, it's like, why is it that New England has been able to keep the fairways relatively green? Whereas like some of these other courses, like I don't want to even name names because I don't want to be mean, but like they're horrible, Mike. Like you can't, when you go to hit the ball, you can't even get under it. You know?
It's really, it boils down to water management and what their assets are. You know, we have a pretty good water source here. You know, it's not cheap, but other places the water isn't cheap and it's limited.
Oh, true. Like you don't have.
So we have a summer like you had last year where we didn't have a lot of rain, and those places are going to suffer. But you know, you flash forward that or flash back where you've got a lot of rain, they're going to be in great. They drain well, and you know we might be cart path only and limit our audience. You know, when you're having carts on the path, you know the people who don't like to walk and take push carts aren't going to come here. They're going to go someplace else. So you know, knock on wood. We're blessed with a good water source. The price is right.
Budget, I would say half of it.
I mean, but other places they're limited in their source, you know, and they have to get it someplace else, and you know, getting it from a town or a different source is very, very expensive. A couple of years ago, we had that, a lot of courses in Greater Boston. We were in a huge drought. Last year was close. Last year was close.
That's true. Water, you don't think about it like that.
How you manipulate, you know, so water management, you know, starts on opening day or even before that. You know, what kind of product do you put down? What the expectation levels are, like even mowing the rough a half inch taller might require a little bit less water. You know, our system here is very old and antiquated, and we need to change it and improve it in a big way. But we have the source, and it does put water out there, and our superintendent does a really good job. And there are days I feel bad for him because it just seems like that's all he does is worry about.
Yeah, those superintendents, they check the weather every single hour.
How much water gets put
literally
down.
half of their job has to know what the weather is. You know what I mean?
How much does he want to require? I want a quarter of an inch of water every night on the greens. How much did it rain? How much am I putting down? How many turns of the sprinkler heads?
Yeah, weather's half of it, man.
I wasn't thinking about that. I mean, I was, but I'm like, obviously you can't.
It was like when we
can't know until you do it.
It's hard to blame the club, and you know, and some of them, their lack of water has helped us. And the sad part is for them is that a lot of them will aerate their greens in like September, and that's when the water will run out because you've used it all summertime. So we instead we aerate in the springtime where the water tends, it's all the runoff and the melting.
So you only aerate once?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
So I mean, I've heard of like, I'm pretty sure the course I worked at did, you know, twice,
Summer,
right?
fall, yep.
You do it at the beginning.
And I've heard of
end.
places that don't do it at all.
Really?
Yeah, it's definitely a
what is the
could you tell
reason?
walking onto a course? Like, could you tell?
I could if they needed it and weren't doing it.
Yeah.
But you know, that's always a pull and tug between someone who's trying to put golfers in the course and someone who's trying to limit. Basically, it's just like your golf carts. People walking carts, you then pull the plugs out and replace it with non-compacted soil, sand.
Yeah, the sand.
And it grows sideways. So it
played on
allows,
aerated greens, right?
But why? I don't even understand what aeration is. What does that even do?
So you're pulling out a core.
Oh, okay.
And replacing it with sand. It allows nutrients and all the right water to get down to the roots.
You've played on an aerated, right?
Of course, a million times.
Yeah. You hit the green.
How often do you do it? How deep do you do it? How big are the holes? How much sand you put in? When do you do it?
Yeah.
It's all like.
And that's based on weather.
It's an
half
art,
of it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense to me though. Like, why sand? Like, are you putting sand in? Or are you?
Yes.
Is it, oh, you are.
Yeah. So you pull the hole out,
so
it creates this little. Depending on how large the core is, it might be 2 inches long. You see a little tuft of grass at the top, then you see some dirt, then you see roots. You come and you pick all those up, and that's where the fun begins. That is manual labor.
Oh my God.
You take a plastic shovel and slowly scrape the ground.
I've seen
it. I actually did it last year for us here. And you push them all off, and then you collect them because that's actually valuable. That can grow grass, and you put that on spots where you might need grass to grow.
I didn't know that.
Like if you were to take that and push that into one of the divots, that'd be perfect.
Really?
So it's like got the seed already in it, got the nutrients already in it.
So
and then you come along and you projects sand down.
It is. I'm so
Then you
confused.
drag the sand into the holes, and you keep on putting the sand until you finalize. Do you want the holes completely filled? Do you want them half filled? Do you want them partially filled? Because eventually, over time, they will close. Yeah, it's
like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Because I've seen like the big piles of them.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I don't know why they leave them like that or what.
but usually that's where you pick them up, you drop them, you then spread them out, and over time they'll actually grow bent grass right there.
Oh,
So you guys,
It's almost like Instagrass. Yeah, it's actually an asset. Having all those cores is an asset.
that's wild.
Yep. You don't want to throw those away. You want to take them home and put them in the bad spot. It's like that grass you can buy in Home Depot, a little bag where you just, it's almost the same thing.
Wow.
Yep. If you want bent grass, bent grass is a different, you don't want that. Wouldn't you want that in your yard?
Yeah.
you wouldn't want bent grass in there?
A little bit harder to take care of. It's not as robust and hardy like a ryegrass, like a rough grass.
I need to learn more about the grasses because that's a huge thing. All these different golf courses with the different grasses.
Yep.
Something I'm not really too up on.
You ever play and miss a green? Not that we've ever missed a green before.
Yeah.
You're just off the green and you're in like your ball has fallen to the bottom and you're like, how could I almost missed it because it's almost unseeable. That might be an area where someone has spilled grass clippings or some of these cores. That's bent grass. It's a very, very thin plant and it grows very dense. Versus if
Grows
that
like
was
this, right?
it just the ball would just go bloop and be almost unseeable. Very, very difficult to play out of. Yeah, we've got a couple spots here where it's like
I've never even heard of this before, and I'm like, now that you're saying it, it's like when you hit out of that, it's a whole different experience.
someday
100%.
I guarantee you at some point, during the golf season, it'll be right around the greens, where it's just a spillover, whether it's with the grass clippings from them mowing or from the aeration. Yeah,
You don't
and
realize.
sometimes it's like they think that they do this on purpose.
Yeah. That's too funny. I mean, you really don't realize how, because like from my perspective, like when I was on the golf team in high school, we played at one of these really rugged courses that had no green, no water, and it was basically farmland. But the way that you play your ball, first off, because it's not just one or the other. It's when you hit and when it impacts the ground, because if it's dry grass, crabgrass, whatever, like it runs out a lot further. Like I had so many, like on a nice course like New England, I can stick the green from almost anywhere.
Yep.
But and of course, getting to a private country club or something like that, even then, it's incredible because now the spin actually really starts to play a factor.
Yep.
But back at that course, there was no ability to do that. So you had to play a whole different shot perspective of running it up and when you hit off the ground, it's funny, like thinking back, I think I was better than I actually was at that point because it's so difficult to hit like that out of it. You know what I mean? Because you can't get the club underneath the ball.
Yeah.
Yep. And a lot of that has to do with like what type of swing you have. Do you take a big divot? Might not be that effective on a hard course. You take a big divot, might be better off on a wet course. And even the type of club you play can make a big impact on how much turf you take.
Yeah, it's like
The Cape Club, for example, the Neponset River was right there, and it was always soft. It was
Always soft.
Yeah,
Cape
always
Club was
soft.
so soft when
So
we played
soft.
there.
Yeah.
I was taking monster divots.
Yes.
Yep.
yes. Yeah. And part of that is
They didn't like me there. I'll tell you that.
part of
I was
that's
taking
water
big
management
divots.
and that Neponset River and that pond, which I think is around the 16th hole. There was, believe it or not, like an otter or a beaver issue where they actually had a dam
I
where
heard
it wouldn't
that.
drain.
No way.
The water would not go across 128. So then all that water just the water table grew up and up. And
Of all the times I've played that course, let's say I played it 5 times. I think 4 out of the 5 times it was thundering and raining when I played there. So I've only ever played that course when the divots were the size of craters. Like,
I don't think you weren't there.
no, I didn't play with you. No,
It was a nice day, but I swear the ground was still. It was
always wet.
It was wet.
It's always wet. Yeah,
So-
we used to joke it was, it wasn't a surprise when it was cart path only. It was more of a surprise when you were allowed to
When you
drive
were
in the
allowed
fairway.
to.
Yeah, yep. But it was always green, and that's
Yeah,
what
very green.
ownership wanted.